Snow Lane, Chapter 8. We get to church and I have to go to the dressing room to put on my costume. There's a pillow with straps on it that I have to tie around my waist so I look pregnant. Clothes are a challenge for me on a normal day. On a day like this, when I'm all thumbs from the tests and, Mom, I can barely figure out how to zip up my own fly, let alone get in this goddamn, 6 rosaries contraption. I can hear the priest getting antsy outside my changing room. "Do you need help?" Father Joe asks from the other side of the door. "What's he gonna do? Come in here and dress me?" "Almost done," I say. I'm sweating now. I stop looking in the mirror and let my hands feel what they're supposed to do and finally manage to get the pillow baby. I throw the white robe on and come out while I'm putting the blue scarf over my head. The priest and the altar boys and the cast look relieved. The kid who's playing Joseph, I just found out his name is Peter because he's from our one town over, so I don't know him from school, grabs my hand and drags me out onto the altar because I'm already late. The lights come up on us. I can't see a damn 10 Hail Mary thing. Peter says his first line and I say my first line, and then the lights come down and Father Joe keeps telling the story of us going to be counted in the census while Peter and I and the kid who's playing the donkey go down to the next set, which are the ends. They're in front of the altar, right before the first row of pews. The kids playing the innkeepers all say they've got no room, and I'm walking next to Peter, trying to look holy. When I see Jordan sitting in the front pew with his mom and dad, he smiles at me, and I feel so happy he's looking at me and smiling that I just stand there, smiling back at him until Peter kicks me. Peter has to repeat his last line because I've gone totally blank. I actually say, and everyone in the church laughs except for Peter. Then I remember my line and I say, "Oh yeah." And everyone laughs again, and I say what I'm supposed to say with a big grin because I'm not embarrassed. Even if I did mess up, I made Jordan Dolan smile, which is like 1,000 times better than getting all the lines right in some dumb nativity play. And that's as far into the play as we go tonight, because the whole birth of Jesus hit with the angels and the drummers, and the drummer boy doesn't come until Christmas Eve, and that's still a few days away. And Peter's relieved because they don't say anything in the next part. It's all lo and behold from angel number 1 and the 3 wise men saying they brought presents, and the kid who plays the drummer boy does his solo drum bit. After Mass, I go to find my family, and my brother JP looks at the pillow baby and says, "That's disturbing," which makes Evie and Aurora laugh so hard the 3 of them have to run outside so they don't get in trouble. Just before JP leaves with Evie and Aurora, he gives me a hug and whispers, "You looked beautiful up there." JP is the only person who's ever told me that. I feel someone touch my shoulder, and I turn around, and there's Jordan. "Good job," he says. I make a face. "I forgot one of my lines," I say back. "Yeah, but you didn't get nervous or anything." I shrug, because I don't think not getting nervous is good for being an actress. Still, with only a 2 out of 3 average, I don't think Carl Sagan would approve of me being an actress, I say. He grins, because he knows exactly what I'm talking about. Even if we haven't said anything about our destiny in months. "See you Christmas Eve," he says, giving me a little wave goodbye. "We'll be here," I say, patting my pillow baby. He shakes his head and goes to his folks. "Jordan," I call after him. I take a few steps toward him, and he comes back to meet me halfway. "Sorry about saying no to you in the cafeteria in front of everyone like I did," I said. "That was really mean, and I'm sorry." He's quiet for a little while, thinking about exactly how to say what he wants to say. I want for him to be ready, even though I'm pretty scared about what he might decide. What if he figures he's still angry with me at all? "I guess we're the kind of friends who do science projects together," he says. "Not the kind who go to dances together." But we're friends, right? He smiles. Always. I realized that the rock was still in my stomach. It went away just now. I got so used to it being there, I stopped noticing. But now that it's gone, I feel light and fluttery inside. I also realize I've been holding my breath and let it out for a big whooshing sound. I'm so glad that's over. Thanks for today, I say before he can walk away. He nods because he knows I'm talking about the pencil he lent me and what he did in Mr. Bennett's class, and not about how he said I did good in the play or how he forgave me for being mean. Jordan always knows what I'm talking about without me having to go back and explain myself. I can't stop smiling. Even though pretty much all of today was awful, at least it ended great. I'm really happy when I go to find Nora so she can come and help me get out of this crappy five Hail Marys costume, which is what I should have done when I was putting it on. I realized too late. You forgot a line, Nora says as she rustles me out of my pillow baby. What could you possibly be happy about? I think about the question for a while, like Jordan would. I guess I just find different stuff every day, I say. I find out on Christmas Eve that not only is Mary not coming back from school to spend Christmas with us, but I'm also going to be stuck sitting in the manger for the entire night. I get bathroom breaks and whatnot, but mostly I have to sit there staring at a baby doll while these three separate messes happen. I get why Mom doesn't want me to come home, but if Father Joe had told me that I was going to have to do the whole play, then sit up in the altar in the manger with Peter and the kid who's playing the donkey, his name's Bobby, and he's from the same town as Peter, for the 5 o'clock, the 7 o'clock, and the 9 o'clock masses, I never would have agreed to it. We always spend most of Christmas at church, but this is too much even for me. Jordan and his parents show up for the 7 o'clock mass, so at least I can look forward to talking to him at the end of it. Sure enough, when mass is done, Jordan comes and finds me. You were great. You didn't mess up any of your lines this time, he said, smiling. Ha ha. I say because, duh, I didn't have any lines. But I think the donkey fell asleep. Yeah, but it doesn't matter because he's a donkey, I say. Anyway, he's only 8, so he doesn't have to do the 9 o'clock with us. You're here for another mass? Jordan looks surprised in a way that actually makes me feel better. I nod. Christmas takes too long. Jordan's parents come up behind him. Jordan, are you almost ready to leave? His father asks. Jordan turns to me. What do you do in between masses? I ask. I shrug. Not much, I say. Between the 5 and 7, I melted down 3 altar candles and made a snowman and an angel out of the drippings. Want to see where I burned my hand catching the hot wax? I showed him the red mark over my palm. It's over my Jesus hole, but bigger. Awesome, said Jordan. Did it hurt? Only for a second, and then it started to cool, and then you can make like anything out of it. Jordan turns back to his parents. Can I hang out here with Annie? He asks. His parents looked at each other. Don't you want to get home and open your Christmas Eve present? His mom asks. I'd rather stay with Annie, Jordan says. His parents look at each other again, and for a second it's like neither of them know what to do. I think we'd better go, Jordan, his father says. It's getting late. We'll have a movie to watch when we get home. Fine, Jordan says, sighing. He looks back at me. I guess I'll see you next year. Have a good Christmas, I say. I include his parents when I say it, but they don't smile at me. His mom especially. She's looking at me like I tried to steal gum out of her purse. Not that Jordan's mom looks like she chews gum. In fact, she's the kind of person who'd probably say chewing gum is vulgar. I like gum. Not that my parents ever let me have it. My dad thinks it's vulgar. I'm so tired when I finally get home. My big sisters and my brother are in the playroom watching A Christmas Carol, the creepy one with George C. Scott. They've got blankets all over the place, and everyone's in a heap on the floor next to the Christmas tree. I scoot in between Aurora and JP, and Geronimo growls at me from under the covers, and I have to scoot around him so he doesn't take a swipe at me. I don't even care that I can't see the TV because I fall asleep in like 2 seconds. I feel like I'm floating and open my eyes just a smidge. JP is carrying me up the stairs. I close my eyes and pretend to be asleep so he doesn't put me down, but he isn't fooled. After he tucks me into the top bunk, he says, "Merry Christmas, Annie." I smile, even though I'm trying not to. I love it when JP carries me up to bed and tucks me in. It's the only time I ever sleep without any nightmares at all. Christmas morning at 17 Snow Lane is nothing like it is in the movies. In the movies, there's always snow falling and kids in pajamas running downstairs to rip open their giant presents, and the fake mom and dad are smiling and happy, and the kids believe in Santa. At 17 Snow Lane, there's usually snow on the ground at Christmas, but it's always just patches of the old melted kind with brown leaves everywhere in between. We don't get to open our presents first thing in the morning. Oh no, we have to wait until after Mass, and my parents aren't even there when we wake up because they're already at church. And we've never believed in Santa because he's pagan. Nora and I find some fruitcake to eat and share a glass of milk because that's all that's left in the fridge while we wait our turn for the bathroom. We go back upstairs, sing Fool in the Rain. I actually really like this one because of the whistle and the fast bit in the middle that feels like a party, and get dressed. And then we have to chase Geronimo out of the Christmas tree before we all pile into the van and head back to church. When Mass is over, we go back home and wait for the Italians to show up with the lasagna. My aunt always makes an industrial sized pan of lasagna for Christmas and Easter, and we get to eat as much as we want. By the time the relatives show up and the lasagna is eaten and we're ready to open presents, it's usually about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The waiting used to be torture, but once I realized that I never get anything good anyways, it got much easier. I'm elf this year. That means I have to dive into the pile of presents, read off the name, and then throw the gift to the person it's for. I like being the elf, even if it means I have to wait until the last person is given it out to open my own. I keep calling out names and chucking presents, and a bunch of times I see Nora's face looking hopeful, but the presents are always for someone else. I'm down to the last few presents when I realize she doesn't have any. Mom forgot Nora. I checked the last few name tags to make sure, but it's no use. Mom, Nora didn't get any presents this year. The Italians gave her money. They always give us $20 for Christmas, but that's it. That's all Nora got. I go and sit next to her. She's looking pale and woozy. You can have half of mine, I tell her, but she shakes her head. I know what she means. It's not what's in them that matters, it's getting them. And she didn't get anything for Christmas. I see Faye and Bridget and the big piles in front of them. Faye got a Cabbage Patch doll, which is like, whoa. They're so hard to get. It was even on the news and everything. How people had to stand in line for hours to get them. And even grown-ups were buying them for themselves because they're collector's items. Everyone wants one. You'd think about with her getting a Cabbage Patch doll and everything, Faye would be running around and screaming, but instead, she keeps looking at Nora. I shove some of my presents in front of Nora and whisper, "Just help me open them, okay?" Nora's face is totally blank, like blanker than Jordan when he clams up. She helps me unwrap my crappy 5 Hail Marys, tube socks, and ugly shirts and old lady isotoner gloves that I'll never ever wear, even if it's 1,000 degrees below zero. But she's not really here next to me. Chapter 9. The whole school is finally excited about Krista McAuliffe. Today is the launch of the Space Shuttle Challenger, and the teachers aren't going to be teaching, so we can all watch on TVs that they've wheeled into every single classroom. They've even opened all the doors between the classrooms, so we can watch with whoever we like to. The only time they've ever canceled classes before was because of a blizzard, and I've never seen them open all the doors. This is the biggest deal in my school ever. Jordan brought the new Walkman he got last month for Christmas into school today, so we could share his headphones and listen in just in case, which turned out to be a great idea because everyone is running around and making so much racket. Jordan and I can't hear the TV. We sit in the back of the science classroom under the table with a hamster on it while Jordan searches the radio. Doesn't Wilson ever get tired of making fart noises? I ask Jordan as Wilson runs by with a hand in his armpit. It's all he's got, he replies. And he won't even wash that hand before he eats lunch. No point, Jordan grins. He's going to stick his hand back in his armpit to make fart noises while he's eating. I laugh because it's gross and true. Jordan suddenly looks down at his Walkman. I found it, he says, and slips off his earphones so he can pull out his metal extenders. Even with the extenders all the way out, we still have to press ourselves together so we can fit the earphones over both our heads. But I don't mind being this close to Jordan. He always smells like dryer sheets and ivory soap, and his breath doesn't smell much like anything at all. Maybe a little fruit punch, but that's because it's his favorite drink. We listened to the broadcaster telling us about the astronauts and the training that they went through and how hard they had to study and stuff. I can feel Jordan getting more and more excited. I want to be an astronaut, he says quietly. I turn a little bit toward him so I can see his eyes out of the corner of mine. Jordan, do you think that's your destiny? He looks down and runs his thumb over the stenciling on his Walkman, like he's embarrassed to say it out loud. I bet you'll walk on Mars, I whisper. His face lights up. Come with me, he says. We'll walk on Mars together. I smile because I'd love to go to Mars with Jordan, but it makes me sad too, because no matter how much fun that would be, I don't think being an astronaut is my destiny. Jordan can tell my smile isn't real, and he's just about to make me tell him why when great clouds of smoke and vapor start shooting out from under the Space Shuttle Challenger on TV. It's starting, Jordan says, and we both stand up. Mr. Bennett cranks up the volume on the TV, and we all crowd around it, doing the countdown and the flight coordinator at Cape Canaveral. 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. The whole school's cheering. Challenger shoots into the sky in a huge cloud of steam and fire and ice. I grow 2 feet probably. My heart is lifting me up so high. Jordan grabs my hand. I can feel every bit of him squeezing, like he needs to hold on to me so he doesn't grow wings and fly away. Challenger rolls and climbs higher and higher. And then an orange flash and a white cloud are all that's left. It's gone. It's just gone. No, I hear Jordan say. The one big cloud of white breaks off into 2 separate trails. One of them is burning. It feels like everything is going slow. No, Jordan says even louder. Mr. Bennett drops his head into his hands and starts crying. I've never seen a teacher cry before. I can't even breathe. I look at Jordan. He looks at me. I can't imagine if Jordan turned into a puff of white smoke. Even thinking it is too hard. How can those people who were just smiling and waving and rising into the sky be dead? I don't want to be an astronaut, I tell him. Promise me you won't. He's still holding my hand because I won't let him let go. After a while, he nods. Okay, Annie, he says. I promise. The rest of the day is not like school at all. Jordan and I sit under the hamster table and listen to the reports on his Walkman with our heads pressed together. Nobody has any answers. NASA is launching an investigation. It doesn't matter how many times we listen to the same thing over and over. It doesn't seem real. After a while, Jordan takes the headphones off us. Was that their destiny? He asks me. I don't like the look in his eyes. It's mean. It reminds me of Faye. No, I say. No, that was an accident. So their destiny was an accident? What are you talking about? I ask, because I'm really confused now. When those 7 astronauts got on that shuttle, everyone thought it was their destiny, he says. His eyes are narrow and he's clenching his jaw. So was it? Were they wrong? Or was it their destiny to die? Now I'm angry because he's starting to sound like Nora and Faye and everyone else in my family who spends more time thinking about everything that's broken rather than thinking about how to make anything better. I don't want Jordan to be like my family. It was their destiny, I say. I butt scoot out from under the hamster table. When I get out, I turn around and look at Jordan. And even though we just spent months in a huge fight, this is the first time I've ever actually yelled at him. It was their destiny to want to do something important with their lives. Just because it didn't work out doesn't mean it didn't mean anything. I leave the room, but I have no idea where I'm going. That's the problem with yelling at your best friend. You're sort of left with nothing to do afterward. I wander the halls and end up in the ACT room. I start taking materials out of the tool cabinet. I miss building things. I especially want to build something now that I've seen something blow up. But Jordan's the builder. I can't measure right or use a drill. I'm just the idea girl. There's all this copper wire and a bunch of magnets in the drawer from the Faraday experiment Jordan and I did last year. I take out the copper wire and start thinking. We're not allowed to do anything with an electrical current this year, remember? Jordan says behind me. I turn around and face him. Because of your mom, I grimace at him. I only electrocuted you a little bit, and it was your project to begin with. Yeah, I know, he says. She just likes to blame other people for stuff I do wrong. He comes all the way into the room and starts taking materials out of the cabinet with me. So what were you thinking of making? He asks. I shrug. I'm trying to picture it. I want to build something that is the exact opposite of the space shuttle blowing up. I don't know, I say. Something with light. Jordan nods. Prisms? He guesses. Now I know he's on board, no matter what I say. Mostly. I think he just needs something to look forward to again. Maybe that's why I'm doing it. Because I know Jordan and I know that he needs to build something. I've heard about this experiment where you can make a flashlight out of paper and graphite, I say. Jordan smiles. Does it use electricity? Probably, I smile back. Your mom doesn't have to know about it, does she? Describe it, he says. He goes to the chalkboard to start writing down what I say. We only come up with ideas for how we're going to build it, and we don't actually start working on the flashlight just yet because we need to do more research. But I don't care that we don't start today. It's enough that we have a project to work on together. When the final bell rings, Jordan and I walk to the bus lines together. Sorry about your destiny, I say. You'll find another one, though. He looks at the floor as we walk and doesn't say anything for a while. How do you know that? He asks. Because you're good at everything, I say, rolling my eyes in just the right way to make him laugh. It'll probably take me until I'm at least 80, because there's pretty much nothing I'm good at. Jordan frowns at me, like what I said made him angry. You're good at making people feel better. That's not a destiny, Jordan. It's not important. He stops walking and I have to stop with him. It is to me, he says. We don't say anything while we walk the rest of the way to our buses because we don't need to. When I get home, my mom tells us she found a bag of presents from Christmas she forgot to give us. My mom does this every year. She hides one bag of presents so she can surprise us all when winter is dragging on and no one has anything to look forward to because spring is still ages away. And it works actually. It makes a crap 5 Hail Marys day, like today, with the shuttle disaster actually bearable. See, my mom does really try, and in a way I always wonder how great a mom she would have been if she'd been able to do it her way. Maybe she still wouldn't have been perfect, but it's things like bags full of forgotten gifts that make me think she could have been good at it if there had only been one or two of us. 2 or 3 of us. We'd have had more money too. I said that to Nora once and she said, yeah, but that would mean you and I wouldn't be here. I've mentioned this before because it's something I think about a lot, but not in a sad way. I don't get why it's so terrible to think that things would be better if you'd never been born. But I know not enough not to say that in front of anyone but Nora, because they'd think I was depressed or something. I just don't think it's so awful to imagine not being born. It's way better than imagining hell, and they make me do that all the time at church. Mom hands Nora and me our gifts with a big smile when we walk in the door after from school. I got a pair of work gloves. For your projects at school, my mom says. Thanks? I say, slightly confused. They're perfect, actually. Sometimes my mom really does get me, and it's times like this that I wonder when she's looked at me enough to notice the things about me. Maybe she's got another pair of eyes. I'm so happy with my work gloves, which actually fit, that I'm smiling when I look over at Nora. She's opened her gift and is looking at it with a frown. It's a dress for a Cabbage Patch doll. What's this for? She asks Mom. It's for the Cabbage Patch doll I got you for Christmas, Mom says. You gave Faye the doll, Nora says, handing the dress back to Mom. Mom won't take it. No, I got you the Cabbage Patch doll, Mom insists. Didn't you notice how she has your eyes and hair color? I waited in line for 3 hours to get you that doll. Don't tell me you've lost it, Eleanor. Now here's the thing about my mom. I've mentioned she's forgetful, that she doesn't really explain it. She's the most absent-minded person ever. She's left me behind at the grocery store. She's forgotten to pick me up after doctor's appointments for like hours, and she's even forgotten my name and stared at me, snapping her fingers for 5 solid minutes while she tried to remember who the heck I am. She's the most forgetful person ever, and she never forgets anything. Okay, now I know it seems impossible for her to be both, but trust me, she is. Things slip my mom's mind all the time, but she remembers exactly the way it happened. I think I get my memory from her, now that I think about it, because I'm the same way. But that's not important now. What's important is that Nora is turning red. Her hand is clamped around the dress, and I know she's about to throw a fit. She turns away from Mom and runs up the steps. I run along behind her because I'm worried about her. Nora throws open the door to Bridget and Faye's room and catches them trying to hide the Cabbage Patch doll. You took my name off all my presents and put your own names on them, didn't you? Nora says. Faye lies a lot. She cheats all the time. If you catch her in a lie, she weasels out of it. But not even Faye can lie her way out of the doll she's trying to hide. She looks embarrassed for a second, and then she throws the doll at Nora so hard it bounces off her and falls on the floor. You can have it, Faye says. It's just a stupid doll. Nora bends down and picks up the Cabbage Patch doll. She leaves the room without saying another word. I follow her. Nora's on her bed, changing her doll into the new dress Mom bought. Her doll has a scuff mark on her face, and her yarn hair is all ratty. Faye wasn't nice to this doll at all. I bet you can get the scuff mark out, I say. Nora's crying silently. She smooths the dress and won't even look at me. Sometimes I wish Nora would just let me be her sister, but she won't. Chapter 10. I've been going on my sister's dates with them since I was 6. Mom's rule is, if you want to go on a date with a Bianchi girl, Annie goes too. So if a boy takes out one of my sisters to a movie, it has to be one I'm old enough to see, and I'm supposed to sit between the two of them the whole time. If a boy wants to take one of my sisters driving, I'm riding in the back seat. And my bedtime is 10 o'clock, so that's when the date's over. I've been on a lot of dates, but I still have no idea how my sisters end up liking the boys they like. My sister Aurora especially. Aurora gets asked out every weekend, and there have been some really great boys who've even bought me popcorn and candy, which is like super nice. There have been boys who've told Aurora she was beautiful and asked her to wear their Letterman jackets, but they've never gotten more than 2 dates. The really polite boys who try to talk to her about ballet and her career never even get a second date. They dress they dress nice, drive fancy cars, and have money. I can tell Aurora is nervous around them. The guys Aurora always ends up going out on more dates with are duds. Take Stan, for instance. Stan, Aurora, and I have gone on 4 dates now, and I have no idea why my sister keeps going out with this guy. He's got a crap, 5 Hail Marys, car. He never buys any popcorn. He starts the night out really charming and funny, but by the end of the date, he's always yelling at Aurora for something and they start fighting. And not just arguing back and forth in a funny way, like Evangeline always does with her boyfriend, Patrick. I mean, Stan and Aurora fight. Usually about something that didn't even happen. Like the time Stan said that Aurora was flirting with the guy who took her movie ticket. Aurora didn't even say hi to him, though, so I have no idea what Stan was talking about. Stan is the worst, and we're going out with him again tonight. When he picks up Aurora and me, he gives me this look like he can't believe I'm here. I thought you were going to ditch her, Stan says. Aurora shakes her head. You know the rules, she says. But your sister Evie and Patrick go out alone, he says. Yeah, because my parents like Patrick and you're a jerk, I think. But I keep my mouth shut. I know when to keep quiet on my sister's dates. Patrick and Evie have been dating since she was 13, Aurora says. She puts a hand on my shoulder and stops me before we get in the car. If you don't like it, Annie and I can go back inside. Please say you don't like it, Stan. It's fine, he says, even though I can tell it isn't. Get in the car a little bit, she tells me. Really don't want to, but I do what she says. We get in his ugly, smelly car and go to the mall. The only movie playing right now that I can go to is Legend with Tom Cruise because it's got unicorns and fairies in it. I love it. There's glitter on everything and a really pretty girl in a white dress, and summer turns into winter because she touches a unicorn and gets it killed. I almost start crying at that part, but I was too scared because of the goblins. But the girl goes to save the unicorn and she has to face the devil. He turns her white dress black and comes out of a mirror with his hooves and horns. He's got this cape on and it blows all around him and he's so cool and I think I love the devil now. 10,000 rosaries probably. I'm so wrapped up in the movie that I barely even noticed Stan feeling up my sister. After the movie, Stan keeps talking about how stupid it was. And I wonder how he even knows what happened, seeing as how he spent half the time trying to get his hand up Aurora's skirt. With me in between them, like I said, Stan is the worst. That was the dumbest movie I've ever seen, Stan says. I liked it, I said. The unicorns were so pretty. Stan smirks at me and tries to pull Aurora away and take her around behind the Cineplex. She'll be all right on her own for a minute, he says to my sister. We can't just leave her, Aurora says. Come on, Stan says. He grabs her wrist real hard and starts to drag her. I follow them from the lights out front and through the bushes and around the corner because I don't like how scared Aurora looks. Go back to the front of the movie theater, Annie, my sister says. I'll come and get you soon. Let's just go home, Aurora, please, I beg. Shut up, Annie, Stan yells at me. Don't talk to my baby sister like that, Aurora says back, and Stan slaps her. She shoves him, and he slaps her again. So hard she falls down. I'm frozen. I know I should help my sister up, but I feel like I'm stuck, and if I stay real still, this won't be happening. Stan paces around in a circle. See? See what you made me do? He says. Why didn't you just come back around with me? He yells at my sister, and it looks like he's going to hit her again. Then it's like I switch on again, even if it's too late. No! I shout. Get away from her! Shh, kid, shut your mouth, Stan growls at me. I back away from him. Don't hit my sister! I scream. People are starting to look around the corner. Get Annie to shut her mouth, Stan says real quiet to my sister. Aurora stands up and grabs me. It's okay, Annie, she says, but it's not okay. The left side of her face is all red, and blood is smeared on her bottom lip. She turns to Stan. Take us home. Get yourself home, whore, he says, and then Stan's gone. It's a long walk back home. I mean, miles. I count license plates, and the weird thing is that they're all divisible by 3. And that fits perfectly into 3 separate sets. And everything should be okay, but it isn't. I hear Aurora crying. She's the only one of us who makes any sound when she cries. But since everything Aurora does is pretty, she sounds like a dove when she does it. We have to stop and sit so I can rest. Aurora doesn't need to rest. She may look fragile, but she's as strong as an ox from so many years of ballet. Aurora could probably run to Boston and back without getting tired. We're sitting on a rock right on the edge of the forest. We'll cut through and get home maybe half an hour sooner once my legs rest a bit. It's way past my bedtime. Aurora's done crying now, but she's even more sad somehow. Why don't you go out with the guys who are nice to you? I ask her. They buy popcorn and tell you you're pretty. She sighs like I don't know what I'm talking about. You think they're better? She asks. Yes, I say, but she shakes her head. No, Annie, those boys are even worse. They don't call me a whore just because they're angry, but they think it all the time. But you're not, I say. She smiles at me. It doesn't matter what I am. It matters what they think I am, because that's how they treat me. But the nice guys wouldn't hit you, I say like it's obvious. I try to think of the nicest boys she's dated. Shane Thompson, he'd never hit you. Maybe not, little bit, she says. She smooths my frizzy hair. Her hair still looks like black ice. But I don't want Shane. Why not? I ask like she's a crazy person. He's so nice. And remember how he made you laugh so hard Diet Coke came out of your nose? She looks down at her hands. Shane's nice. He's from a good family. He'd never understand. I wait for her to finish, but then I realize she isn't going to. Never understand what? I ask. She shrugs and won't look at me. He's not right for me. She looks ashamed. Actually, I'm not right for him. We're going to graduate in 1 month, and then he's off to Harvard. He's a legacy. I have no idea what that means, but I think it's important. Aurora points at the bruise darkening her face. Do you think I'd fit in with all those rich kids in Harvard? No, I say, because you're probably way prettier and more talented than all of them put together. Aurora laughs. Oh, Annie. She looks up at the stars, smiling. I hope you never change. We cut through the forest, past that beautiful house that's all wood and glass, and we get home after midnight. We have to sneak in, but that's not so hard in my house. You see, with 9 people to account for, Mom and Dad miss half of us even in the shuffle. In fact, sometimes they lose track of us even when we're standing right in front of them. Like that time Mom ran over Faye's foot with a car on accident. At least I'm pretty sure it was an accident. Anyway, I can go days without ever seeing my parents, let alone them getting worried I haven't gone to bed. We walk right in the front door because it's never locked. There's nothing to steal, anyways. Don't say anything to JP, Aurora whispers. What about your face? I whisper back. You're purple. Aurora touches her cheek. I'll say Peach dropped me doing a lift. Peach is Aurora's dance partner. His real name is Pedro, but everyone calls him Peach because he's that sweet. He's even sweeter than Shane. But my sister says she can't date him either because he doesn't date girls, even though he spends all his time with the most beautiful girls in the world. Kind of like JP, actually. JP's got a ton of girlfriends, but he doesn't have a girlfriend, and I don't think he ever has. Huh. I just noticed that. But that's not important right now. Everyone knows you weren't dancing tonight, I whisper back frantically. You can't blame Peach. We hear someone coming down the stairs and stop talking. Do you have any idea what time it is? Nora says from the bottom of the steps. She folds her arms across her skinny chest and gives Aurora a scolding look. You can't keep Annie up this late. She'll get sick. Be quiet, Nora, Annie hisses. She rushes forward to Nora and me to drag Nora and me away from the bottom of the steps so our parents don't hear. My mom can hear an ant fart, especially at night when her super hearing is extra looking for any kind of funny business. If you even get up to pee in the middle of the night and put a foot down too hard, you can bet 2 seconds later mom's going to blind you with her flashlight while you're sitting on the toilet. There's nothing worse than having the pee scared back inside you by mom shining a light in your eyes while you've got your underpants down. She's probably startled 5 or 6 years off the end of my life as it is. And I'm the quietest when I get up to pee. Considering it's 3 of us all talking at the bottom of the stairs, I can't believe Mom isn't down here already. Aurora draws us into the sewing room study. What happened to your face? Nora asks. She's sneering when she says it too. See, here's the thing about Nora. She's sort of like Jimmy Collins. They make other people want to hurt them. It's like this. Nora and Jimmy think people are mean, and it's because they think that way that other people act mean around them. Jimmy knows he's doing it, and he likes making people act mean and stupid. Nora has no idea, but other people don't know that. They just think she thinks she's better than them, but she doesn't. She's just seen the worst in people so many times, she assumes she'll see it again. and nobody likes to be thought of at their worst. Aurora grabs a big hunk of Nora's hair and twists it until Nora crumples down to her knees. You are not going to say anything about this to anyone, are you, Eleanor? Aurora whispers. She looks at Nora with so much hate I can't stand it. It's like Nora is to blame for what happened tonight because she's sneering at Aurora just like all those girls at Harvard would sneer. But Nora isn't to blame for any of it, and Nora knows it. So she just sneers even more at Aurora and stares at Aurora's black eye like she's trash because she has a black eye. But Aurora isn't trash, and that's why she has a black eye to begin with. And I wish I could explain this to both of them, but neither of them would believe it because they both think the opposite is true. I put my hand on top of Aurora's to get her to loosen her grip on Nora as I try to wiggle between my two sisters. Nora's not going to say anything, I tell Aurora. Let go. I swear she won't say anything. She better not, the little snitch, Aurora says. I get myself between them. She won't tell, I promise. You should put some ice on your eye, Aurora, I say, and I hustle Nora to the stair. Nora feels like dandelion fluff in my arms. She's so nice. Everyone hates me, she whispers as we tiptoe up the stairs. We get into our room and I climb into bed without even taking off my clothes. I don't hate you, I love you, I tell her. She doesn't say she loves me back, but it's okay. Nora never says she loves me because she can't say it to anyone, or else it's like saying it to no one. She's got to save it all up and only give it away once, or it's not special. Maybe she'll finally say it to me when I'm 80 and about to die. But I know she loves me anyway. Nora loves me, even though she wishes she didn't. When I wake up in the next morning, Nora's gone. I know something's wrong right away. Little things are missing, like Nora's favorite book and the drops she has to put in her ears so she doesn't get any more ear infections. Geronimo sits in the middle of her bed, blinking at me, almost like he's sad. I go downstairs without even trying to sing Led Zeppelin to get into the bathroom, and I ask Mom where Nora is. She hasn't come downstairs yet, Mom says, and that's when I get really nervous. She's not upstairs, I tell Mom, but she doesn't look worried. Mom, she's not in her bed, and her favorite stuff is gone, I say louder. Mom sighs and turns to face me. What do you want me to do, Annie? I stand there for a second, because the last time Mom really looked at me was way back when I asked her why she didn't put me in ballet. When I don't have anything to say, Mom goes back to microwaving a bowl of oatmeal for me. That's when I realized that no one is going to do anything. Nora ran away from home and no one cares. I eat my oatmeal and wait for Mom to go to church for choir practice before I make a couple of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for Nora and me. She'll be hungry when I find her, probably. I remember an old thermos and an old lunchbox and pour milk into it, put everything into a backpack, and head out into the woods. It's spring, but it's still not all that warm yet, so I wear JP's old jean jacket over my t-shirt that says Virginia is for lovers. I love this t-shirt because it's super soft, but I hate it too because the word lovers on it always seems so corny to me, and there's a silhouette of a boy and a girl kissing silk screened onto it, so I never wear it to school. Plus, I've never been to Virginia, so I hardly ever wear it, even if it does feel just right when I put it on. But I need to be comfortable if I'm going to find Nora and convince her to come back, and this t-shirt hugs close and fits great under a jean jacket. You've got to be wearing just the right things if you're going to be going through the whole woods to rescue your sister. I start on our usual paths. These are places we like to go and play, like the Witch Cottage, which is really just a tumble-down old house that was made of the same stones the fences are made out of, and has probably been here since there are witches running around after the Salem witch trials. There's no roof or anything, just stone on top of stone to show you where the rooms used to be, and piles of dead leaves from years before. Nora's not at the witch cottage, so I go on to the Prudential Tree. The Prudential Tree doesn't have a name on any of the maps, but it has a name with all of us. It has a name with all of us kids. It's this old gnarly pine tree that sticks out over the edge of a cliff. It's huge. I mean, enormous. The Paru tree is so wide around the bottom that all 8 of my siblings and I can barely hold hands around it. It's so tall that if you could climb up even 3/4 of the way, you can see all 26 miles into Boston, and it's like looking directly into the windows of the Prudential building. That's why we named it the Prue Tree. It's the best. I've only climbed it once, though, on account of the fact that I pretty much fell out of it and would have died if it hadn't been for Faye. I was staring at Boston, and it looked like a city in one of those snow globes, but without the snow. It was like could reach out and grab the shining glass and steel and turn it around in my hands, and then the wind blew, and the Prue tree started swaying back and forth, and Patrick, my sister Evangeline's boyfriend, who's been around so long I can't really remember a time without him, started yelling for everyone to look out, and before I knew it, I was falling. I whooshed past Patrick, and I saw the panic on his face as he tried to grab me, but it was Faye, who was a few branches below him, who managed to get a hand on me, and she saved me. She grabbed me wicked hard, and the branches whipped her and me like crazy as we both fell, but she didn't let go. JP grabbed her as she went by and managed to stop both of us. I've never been allowed back up since, because everyone says I'm so skinny the wind can just blow me out like a kite and it isn't safe. But I go there to find Nora. She's been here. I can see where she sat with her back against the tree, and where she scuffed her feet and drew little circles in the ground with a stick because she was bored. And I know it was Nora, because no one knows about the Prue tree but us Bianchis and Patrick. But he's one of us anyways now, even if he and Evie aren't quite married. There's no trail. I mean, not that I could spot a trail or anything. I'm practically through to the other side of the forest at this point, so I decide to stop and eat a sandwich. I drink all the milk too because it's going warm anyways. When I'm done with my lunch, I decide to go around the outside of the woods on the nice side of town by the country club to try and see if Nora left the woods or if she stayed inside. I end up at the beautiful house that's all wood and glass. When I break through the whipped green branches, I see a sailboat on blocks in the backyard. The boat is raw wood and planks and pegs handmade, and it's not that big. The hull is up on sawhorses, but I know whose boat this is just from the look of the build. I know a Jordan Dolan project when I see one. There are no big leaves on the trees yet to hide me, so as soon as I see Jordan and his father, they see me. Annie? Jordan says, like he can't believe I'm here. I have to come out of the woods and into the yard, but I don't want to. This is Jordan's house. This house, out of every house, is his? And it makes me feel bad. I always knew Jordan and I were different, but knowing he lives here is worse somehow. He's even farther away from me than Kristen Gates, and I'd always hoped he was closer. I'm barely out of the woods, and he runs to meet me. He's excited. He grabs my hand and pulls me toward his boat. I've wanted to ask you to come and see my boat forever now, he says, and his voice cracks, going up and down all crazy when he says forever. He's breathless and his cheeks are pink. What are you doing here? I smile and stand in front of his boat. It's beautiful, I say, because it is. It curves and bends and flows, and I can tell just by looking at it that it floats. I turn to Jordan. It's the best thing you've ever built. He looks down. I had so much trouble with the keel, he tells me. He's still holding my hand, so he guides me under the sawhorses so I can see what he means. I couldn't get it plumb. I start to laugh because of our pendulum project. We just couldn't get it plumb, which was hilarious for 5 seconds, because I said we should just paint it purple. But then it turned into a giant pain because I never figured out. A giant pain that I never figured out, but Jordan did because he always figures everything out. It looks plumb now, I say. I glance at Jordan out of the corner of my eye, and you didn't even paint it. Jordan and I laugh because we know exactly what we're talking about. Jordan's worked very hard on this, his dad says. He's standing outside because he's too big to fit underneath. Jordan and I come out from under the boat. His dad looks at our hands because we're still holding them. My cheeks get hot and I twist my hand out of Jordan's. Nobody says anything for a while, and I know how much Jordan hates that. It's not that Jordan doesn't like to talk, it's that he knows He never knows what to say when he thinks other people won't understand him. Now that I see him with his dad, I get why he's like that. But I still don't know what to do. Normally I'd do the talking for Jordan, but I don't know how to do that with his dad here. You're Annie, right? His father says. I nod. You're growing up, he says. I turned 11, I say. Do you live on this side of town? No, I say. I live on Snow Lane. That's a long walk, Mr. Dolan says. I nod again. Jordan shifts from foot to foot. It's what he does, instead of bouncing his leg when he's standing up and not sitting down. I hate it when Jordan's uncomfortable. I gotta go, I say. I start backing toward the woods. Why? Jordan says. I gotta find my sister, I say. Jordan frowns. He comes forward and takes my arm so I can't melt into the trees. His eyes drop and he looks at my t shirt, and I can tell he likes the way. He likes it because he stares at the silkscreen on my chest for a really long time. He moves closer to me. Which sister? He asks. There's sun on his hair and he has to tilt his chin down to look me in the eye. When did Jordan Dolan get taller than me? The closest one. Eleanor. I stop and shift my backpack, but I really shrug his hand off. Not because I want to, but because his dad keeps staring at us. He doesn't like that Jordan's touching me. What happened? Jordan asks. I look at his dad, who's watching us carefully. I can't tell Jordan the truth. I know what his dad will think of my family because Nora ran away. I'll tell you Monday, I say, and run. I stop before the tree line and turn. I love your boat, I shout. Then I'm gone. I don't find Nora. She doesn't come home that night. It takes until Sunday night for my parents to start worrying, even though I've been sick to my stomach for her over a day now. And when they start asking about where she might have gone, it's not like it's in the movies. It's not like they tear out their hair and yell at the police, which tears with tears in their eyes. At this point, I'm surprised they even called the police. Our family looks normal and nice on the outside, and we all try hard to keep it that way. Having the police at your house definitely doesn't look nice. My parents look tired, and they shrug a lot, and they ask Officer Langmeyer, where could she possibly go besides a friend's house? Like it's no big deal. But Nora doesn't have any friends, and she isn't at anybody's house. And that's the end of the chapter.